Today, Dr. Kylehill talks about CBD oil. She answers the question, is the issue the American diet? Are the Food and Drug Administration working together? Keep listening to join this discussion. And now, part 2 of It's the Whole Plant for Me. What is it like as a doctor when you are treating a patient and you see that frustration, you see that fear, you see that concern in their eye, like this is it. I always be in this pain. I always have this tremor. I always have these headaches. And for you to be able to work with them to find something that is able to help or offer them a treatment that is able to help. And then you see that first glimmer of hope. Like, what is that like? And take us from the start of when you first see that patient, and then when you see that first breakthrough, what is that like for you?
Well, I'll tell you, Pastor Johnny, just even giving them options and letting them know that there's hope. I mean, and this is before, even we've tried anything or know that it works. I think patients just want to be heard. They want to be provided options, and they want to know that they have somebody that they can rely on to kind of help them go through this process. And just with like simple recommendations, you tell people, that have chronic headaches, you kind of just start, well, what is your water status look like? How much water are you drinking? And sometimes patients don't even consider that to be a reason for their headaches. And then when they start increasing their hydration and they notice, they come up, how much water did you drink this week? How much water did you drink last week? Are you seeing any improvements in your headaches? And when they, say, I never thought about it, but now that I've been drinking more water, and it could be something so simple, and that feels amazing just to know that you can help and provide options and hope and provide patients with, the listening ear to kind of get them through what they're going through.
Does that add to your, I want to say put words in your mouth, but when you see the American diet and the industry that has been put together, the food and drug industry, that almost seem like they're in cahoots. Somehow it's like, hey, we'll throw you a bone, you throw us a bone, wham, and we meet in the middle, right? And does it seem like that just from us as consumers, or is there a hint of maybe there is something that needs to be looked at that's changed in both of these industries to keep them both from being so profitable?
Yeah, I agree, Pastor Johnny. And the American, and it's funny because, my passion for going back to medical school came while I was in Korea. And so things are done very different in Korea. Diet, healthcare, all those things. And they've got like McDonald's and things there too, but it's just like people just don't run to those as often because the health is stressed from like early on. I taught kindergarten, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade. And that's at a public school. So I did, see like the lunches. I actually had lunch with my kids. It was a free lunch provided. And they're super healthy lunches. And, they do kimchi with every meal, which is really great for probiotic. So when you touched on the American diet, there is a huge correlation with a lot of the disease process that we're seeing, the high cholesterol, the diabetes. I mean, just astronomical levels of diabetes and obesity. And those things are directly related to the American lifestyle, or what's been glorified as the American lifestyle. So I think, education on basic things like nutrition and health and fitness are imperative, especially for patients dealing with chronic pain. Because there are certain lifestyle habits. We can talk about alcohol, different fatty foods, lots of red meats that cause inflammation in the body. And that inflammation is directly related to a lot of these disease processes and flare-ups and pain. I myself have even had to kind of really, throw out a lot of things in my diet and be really conscientious of the things that I consume, because I know I've been able to kind of watch when I eat certain sugary foods or fatty foods, I'm in much more pain. I have more pain flare-ups. I have more migraines and things like that. And those things, aren't readily taught. And I think that, it's imperative, especially as physicians, that we're educating our patient and easy, simple things that, patients can do to kind of enhance their quality of life.
Yeah, I think there's such a balance that has to be there, because it's not that other countries, like you said, don't have some of the same food options. It's really the overall lifestyle of the way we live. And I did a podcast with a young lady who was in Europe, and she went there for the summer to do an internship. And she said in the middle of the day, everybody went home for like an hour and a half, ate lunch, took a nap, and then went back to work in school. And I was like, what? And she was like, hey, that's what they do. Because that is what's best for them, and then they gather at nighttime and don't eat past a certain time, and they always eat together as a family. And so she was like, I know that it's possible, but when I moved back to the States, it seemed impossible because of the lifestyle and the jobs that we have. So it seems like one feeds the other, and if we can't fix certain pieces of it, then these industries are going to keep making that money, and then we will suffer the long-term cost. And the idea is not to find healing, but just to find solutions to deal with the symptoms. So we can work through the symptoms. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just like, as you're working through the symptoms, your body doesn't get to heal, and it actually finds itself needing more medication to deal with further symptoms that they cause. And so it just seems like this ongoing thing. So is what you are studying something that could potentially help us cut it off in the path, and maybe not, because right now we know this opioid epidemic is not playing, and it's being prescribed left and right legally, and then some illegally. So is what you are studying right now something that can help us kind of reverse the curse?
Yes, Pastor John, and for more than one ways than others. Opioids, they do have a place for short-term pain, of what we call acute pain. But all the studies have showed that they don't work for chronic pain. Pain for 3 months or more, we should be looking at other options. We should be looking at other reasons why, the pain is there, and also lifestyle changes and things that can be done. So the things that I study with the endocannabinoids and the phytocannabinoids equivalents, and how to kind of supplement our endocannabinoid systems, I do believe that there is merit. There's been studies that shown that in conjunction with opioids, patients take less opioids to achieve the same type of pain relief. We're looking at CBD to help reduce cortisol levels, to help with sleep, to help with any kind of like digestional issues and inflammation. So I really think that the potential out there is definitely there. We just, they keep saying we need more research. The thing is, we have a lot of research. We need more like clinical protocol research specifically, which, it's really hard because it's still federally illegal. It's a Schedule I substance. So our hands are kind of tied on the type and amount of research we can do, but there's been a plethora of research in other countries and we know for sure that this plant, the compounds are safe. We know that there's no overdose potential, and not even really any kind of addiction potential. So in my lens, when I look at it, here is a plant with several compounds that have been shown efficacious with different ailments, and also we know that there's not really a toxic dosage. So I feel like it should be something should be allowed to play with and research more, because I also believe it.
Wait a minute, Doc. I'm gonna stop you now. For the longest, we have been told that this is one of the most addictive substances ever created, and so. Are you skirting around this, or is this misinformation?
It's a little bit of both. Let's, to kind of give you what I've learned and what I've researched. when you look at something being addictive, there's different ways to determine the addiction potential. Cannabis has been shown not to be physiologically addictive. Now, if you're taking it in such a high concentration for so long, you will have some type of symptoms of withdrawal. None that are to the point of like respiratory depression or tremors or anything serious like a lot of the pharmaceuticals that we have that are FDA approved. That standing, I personally feel like if we can approve certain drugs that we know are toxic, addicted, and have withdrawal potentials, we should be able to look at this plant that we know do not have those things, but also has the potential to solve a lot of the elements, or either be a therapy, or even adjunct therapy, an add-on. So I personally believe it needs to be looked at further. It's not, when you look at, I wish I had the chart that showed you the addiction potential of some of the other drugs like alcohol, like cigarettes. And it's not even on par with that at all. So personally, the things that are legal with severe addiction potential, cannabis doesn't come close to that.
Now, let me ask you this, because I think one of the things that this industry is getting a bad rap on is there's a difference between what is grown medically and what is projected to be introduced medically through some of these offices than what is sold on the street. So can you talk to us about the difference between those two products? And then also, all the products that are going to be distributed in these different shops and outlets, are they going to be governed to the extent where new users can trust these products without having some kind of shaking addiction?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, Pastor Johnny. And to make a distinction between, medical and recreation. Okay, so depending on what state you are, you can get a medical card, you can grow your own, and you are also privy to like certain products and dispensaries that have a higher level of THC and things like that. But truthfully, it's the same plant. So whether you're using it, medically as a patient, or you're using it recreational, the plant is still the same. Now, the thing that I like to stress is, if this were a federally legal and regulated substance, we would have more standardized on our products. We would know more exactly what's in it, and make sure it's tested for pesticides, make sure it's tested for heavy metal, make sure we know the concentrations of the specific cannabinoids. And that's the problem when you buy things off the street. You have no idea. You get something in a baggie and you hope somebody did what they were supposed to when they grew it, but you don't know. A lot of times they use pesticides to make sure, the plant isn't eaten away by pests. And then those pesticides have chemicals that can be harmful, especially if you're immunocompromised and you're using cannabis as medicine. So one of my other push for federal legalization as well as regulation is that we get a more certified product. And then, like, as a health provider, you feel more confident recommending something to a patient. As far as, the idea of medical versus recreational, my thing is everybody has an endocannabinoid system, and everybody has a different endocannabinoid tone of that system. And so I personally believe that every use is really medical. If you're using it all day long, that's not really medical. Maybe you're trying to help an anxiety issue that you have, or depression, but I still think it's important to be in connection with a healthcare provider that can walk you through it, to make sure you don't have any adverse reactions, and make sure that you're starting at a dose that's low enough and you get to a therapeutic level where you don't have a lot of bad side effects. So it's important that these compounds are regulated.
Thank you for joining us for part 2 of It's the Whole Plant for Me with Dr. Kyle Hill. If you have questions about the cannabis plant or about the CBD product, use the hashtag JDO3 podcast and hashtag Dr. Kyle Hill, that's KYLE, to join the discussion. I want to hear from you, and I want you to participate in future podcasts. Email me at pastorjohnny@firstmet.org.